So you very well may be checking out this episode on the very last day of the quarter. And if that's the case, that's actually pretty cool because today we're going to be going over how to do a quarterly review. Because remember, you've only got 4 quarters in a year to actually achieve not only your goals, but move progress on your domains. So let's get into it. Welcome back to yet again another episode of the Upgrade My Rituals podcast. My name is Kevin McKellar, the host, and this is the show for stressed out overachievers who are looking to design this perfect ideal day. We're trying to ditch the overwhelming amount of habits that we want to try to instill and produce a really perfect day where even if we hit half of our routines and our rituals we set for that day, we feel really good about what we've actually accomplished in all aspects of our lives and where our life is actually headed. So if you are new to this channel, thank you so much for being here. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification to be notified of the next episode. And if you're already subscribed, well then welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the quarterly review and what I do at the end of each quarter 4 times a year to actually check in and see what's going on, right? Because we have 13 weeks in every quarter, and that sometimes can get a little bit monotonous. We can kind of be in our groove and, check in every week, And even though we're supposed to check in on our quarterly goals and our domains, sometimes you may miss it. Sometimes a whole month may go by and you may not have checked in. So this quarterly review process is very, very important, and it's very, it's really crucial. But what's really good is that it is not super time consuming, at least the way I do it in the Ritual Design Planner. So I'm going to actually walk you through the end of the Ritual Design Planner, and I'm going to show you how I go through my quarterly review process. So let's get into it. Basically, the first step that I do is I list out the goals, right? These are the type of objective, hard goals, and whether or not we completed them or we didn't. Now, if you notice here in the planner, I did a couple things. I made obviously a check mark, but in the next column, I added a % complete option because many times we may have a goal and we may achieve half of that goal, but to give ourselves a 0, to give ourselves no credit whatsoever, is not, in my mind, the best way to be true to you. And I'm not trying to use this opportunity to be an 8th place trophy type of person or give yourself all the credit. But if you get credit, then give yourself credit, right? If you did some work, for instance, one of my goals for this quarter is to complete the basement. We had a flood last year and there was a whole bunch of stuff that had to be done. I had to put down a whole new floor. I had to rip out some sheetrock, all the moldings, all that stuff. So I am literally probably about 75% done. To say that I failed at that goal is kind of inaccurate. It's harsh because I put down the entire new floor. I had to rip up the carpet. I had to put down a vapor barrier, put down the whole new floor, redo all the moldings, which is very time consuming. And that's in 2 different rooms. I pulled out all the sheetrock that needed to be pulled out, cleaned all the mold, and now all I have to do left is get a mold inspection and put up the new sheetrock, spackle, and paint. And it's not that much. I might be able to finish it before the end of the quarter because at the time of recording this, I only have 2 weeks. But maybe not. So to say that I failed is just, it's not accurate on the progress of what you want to do. Now, if it's for, say, losing weight, or if it's learning a musical instrument or something, there's so many progress steps that can be made in throughout that you're going to really want an area where you can write a percentage complete, because then you know whether or not you can just, if it's 95% complete, then just take one day and bang it out. Or if it's only 50% complete, it may carry over into your next quarter. So you're going to list them all out here and write, how far you got through each one. The next section is going to be a domain review. And this is really important, and I think is one of the ways that this planner is definitely different than many on the market, because often planners don't focus on domains. Domains are the things that we can't necessarily put objective finishing dates to. A domain may be your relationships. What does that mean? Like, how do I know if I'm I increased or got better in my relationships. It's very hard because, first of all the relationships in your life are different between your family, your friends, your loved ones, whatever, your kids. They're all very different. So we want to have a spot for domains. And this is where we give ourselves a type of internal arbitrary score on how we're doing. And that's why every week at the Keystone Ritual, you're supposed to go back and review your domains that you're working on and what action steps you want to take each week to actually increase the score of those domains. So it's a really cool, this is very similar to like a life wheel where you'll put in your domains and give yourself you draw on what line you feel like you've completed a 1 out of 10. And you create the circle. And if the circle is super uneven, then it's going to be a really bumpy ride in your life, right? Makes sense. But if the circle's fairly even, it'll be a fairly smooth ride. And that's the whole point behind holistic productivity. We can't be solely focused on one side of that life Rubik's Cube because then we forgot about the other sides. And what I've done here is I've listed a couple of spots to make it where it's a little bit easier to read because obviously this is a little bit hard to read the scores. So you can also list out your domains here and give yourself the first score from the beginning of the quarter and then the last score, what you just did on this side. And then you could see the differences of what you made, whether you've actually made progress or you've taken some setbacks. So this is a really cool spot. And then the biggest wins this quarter. I like to write down what are my biggest wins. What are the things that I feel good about accomplishing? And they don't have to be some life-changing things. But again, I may feel really good about completing the basement project. I may feel really good about enrolling 3 more students into Day by Design. I may feel really good about whatever my goals are. But what's most important here is that this may be a spot for things that you achieve that you didn't set out to achieve in the beginning of the quarter. 3 months is a long time. A lot can happen. So maybe something happened where you decided to start a new project and you use some of the project pages in the back of the planner and you finish that project within the quarter. That's a win. Congratulations. Write that down. Feel good about that. And then on the next page, it says, what are some things you will start or keep doing? This is sometimes even more important than the next section where it says, what are some things you will stop doing? We kind of know the things that we need to cut out, right? We need to cut out sugar. We need to cut out TV. We need to cut out our phone. We need to cut out bad friendships. We all know those things. They're pretty obvious because pain is much more obvious than pleasure. So, we would much rather as human nature and human beings much rather avoid pain than seek pleasure. That's just our survival instinct. So what are some of the things you will start and keep doing is a great exercise to try and uncover some of the really good things that you've been doing, whether it's in your ritual design or maybe it's something random that's been happening. Maybe it's a new implementation you did in your job or something, whatever it is. This is a good place to note that. And of course, note some of the things you're going to stop doing. And then general review. So the general review is just another place where you can kind of reflect on the quarter, a very small little space to do a little bit of journaling and reflection on just everything. If you had some great moments, if you had some really bad moments in the quarter, just get them down on paper. So that is as simple as that. That's your quarterly review. It's really, really easy and it's fairly quick. It takes about probably, if you do it right, 20 to 30 minutes. Not bad at all. So you just take one day on a weekend or whatever at the end of the quarter, bang it out. And then, of course, the most important thing is to actually get going on the next quarter, right? So planning out your next quarterly goals and domains that you want to work on and figuring out how you're going to actually record those, whether it's a new planner or whether it's another digital system or whatever it may be. So that's it. Super easy today. Please make sure that you do this review because it's great to learn about it, but you actually got to do it. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear about them. I would also love to hear if you have a quarterly review process that you've been doing up to this point that maybe you want to change and alter or stick with or whatever it may be. I want to hear those in the comments. So please let me know below, and let me know what you're doing and what you're going to take from this episode today. So thank you so much for jumping in and listening to this week's episode. If you liked it, please hit that bell notification, and of course, hit the thumbs up to like it, and please consider subscribing. And if you really, really liked it, definitely share it with a friend. Share it with somebody who may need this episode to wrap up their quarter and make some progress on their annual goals that they want to see happen. Thank you once again, and I'll see you next week here on the Upgrade My Rituals podcast.